Okay. I'd like to call this meeting of the Montgomery City Council into session. Sorry. It is 6 o'clock, Tuesday, January 10th. Set your calendars to 2023 at this point, if you haven't already done so. We're glad everybody's tuned in from outside and those who have chosen to be with us tonight and taking an interest in our city. We're especially excited to welcome Mr. Gary Palmer from the great state of Georgia as our newest city administrator. I'm certain that the extra smile is in regards to the Georgia Bulldogs, possibly. I don't know. But welcome. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
We ask that everyone silent any cell phones to avoid any interruptions to our meeting. We do have a quorum present. Note that Mr. T.J. Wilkerson is not with us tonight. With that, I invite everyone to stand and join me in the invocation and the salute to the flags. Heavenly Father, we're so thankful for so many blessings in the new year, the way that you've watched over our country, our state, our city, in particular our schools. We've enjoyed some really fine blessings over these times. We lift up Brother TJ to you, that you would bring full healing. There's others that are sick and afflicted. You know who they are. And we ask for your blessings of healing on them. We ask you continue to guide our city in the way that we ought to go. We thank you so much for Gary and bringing him to us. And we just ask for wisdom moving forward in a spirit of unity and oneness together. We ask your blessings on our meeting. Grant us wisdom and abide richly in each one of us. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Salute to the American flag. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
That already reads off.
Yeah.
Are you a born Texan?
Yeah. I forgot my Texas pen too. All right. Visitors Citizen Forum. We have one signed up to speak. Miss Sarah Countryman. State your name, address. You'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. Palmer. Welcome to birthplace of Texas flag. I'm Sarah Countryman, citizen, taxpayer, previous 2-term mayor with my term ending in May 2022. I'm a true believer in facts, following the rules, doing what's right, and truth over deception. Favoritism, personal gains, and interest, acting on emotion has no place in government nor the workplace. It's been my experience, and based on evidence, Dave McCorkadell put the city at risk for lawsuits due to the incompetencies, lack of truth, personal interest gains, and ability to work without emotions. For example, last council meeting had an agenda item pertaining to needing approval for a budget amendment of $170,000. According to my records, Mr. McCorkadell said the PD had overspent on their budget. I listened to the police chief lay out his calculations, and in fact, Dave was an error of $106,000, it sounded like to me. I would expect that the follow-up would be on tonight's agenda, and after all, that is a lot of money, and it's not here. Seems to be another blame-shifting scenario. Can you get to the bottom of this and let us taxpayers know where our money is? Early last year, there was a budget amendment of approximately $1.2 million when doing the simple math that was provided in the agenda item that Dave put together. The amount that was really up for discussion was approximately $120,000. That's a big difference. We citizens and community are experiencing poor customer service from City Hall. Phone calls are not being returned, no email addresses, no email responses. Water billing issues are truly a City Hall issue. Since the city secretary is here, seems to be half-time, there's little to no oversight on accurate billing, sleeping employees in the water making window, and employees that smell like cannabis that stink up the reception area. A property on Louisa that was demolished by his good buddy and developer, like item number 4 on tonight's agenda, was never in front of City Council or permitted to be torn down. It was historical, and I have the records request response from the city stating they do not have responsive documents in relation to my request. Same buddy built a fence on 21884 Texas 105 property with no permit. Why is Joe Jackson selling firewood without a permit? Focus Dave Ludson. Dave's home is residentially zoned. vital council and city employee, commercial business run out of a home. No zoning changes, no permits. Today, there's still commercial activity taking place on his residential lots. He's a city employee and should follow the rules. How about the 2 COs and whatever issued yet the properties were being inhabited for months? Council, mayor, revised food truck ordinance. It's been 1996. Come on, let's get going. New city hall, PD on Prairie Street. What's the status? Dave, council? There are a number of unhappy people with city hall and council. My phone rings, doorbell rings, and we talk constantly about the condition of this city. Everyone sees how plentiful this place is for those that receive favor. Public Works, why did you put out only 2 signs for boil water notice, yet 15 households were affected? Should you not just knock on doors and have a conversation? It caused a lot of chaos in our neighborhood, and actually I got calls today. Last September, there was a budget amendment for pumps that the city needed to buy. During the city council meeting, Dave and Mike stated the reason that there was an increase on the already budgeted amount was because of price increase. And the company didn't tell them. The blame game again, well, no. I called Pine Equipment, and in fact, the pricing was given in May for $37,872. The quote states it's good for only 30 days, and the city sat on it until September. Why? Inefficient, another blame game scenario. And the citizens lost $3,500. Mr. Palmer, please get city ordinances up to date, improve customer service, and ensure everyone is held to the same standards. Last year at this time, there were 2 other people sitting there where you are today, and neither are here because of David. Well, look forward to getting together with you. I'd love to be able to expand details on when that happens.
Consent agenda, item 1, approval of the minutes of regular meeting 11/08/2022. Council have any questions or changes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting 11/8/22.
Second.
Make a motion to second to approve consent agenda item 1, the approval of minutes of regular meeting. This motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. All in favor of passing consent agenda item 1, say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, say no. And the consent agenda item number 1 is approved. Item 2, variance hearing number 1, consideration possible action on a side yard setback encroachment request at 704 Caroline Street.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to defer to Mr. Corporal on this item.
Mayor and Council, as you can see on the agenda, this is a Board of Adjustment item. It's an action of the City Council also, so this is a adjustment. The applicants have submitted information first to the Planning and Zoning Commission, which then comes to the Board of Adjustment, in this case, which is also received, to encroach into the side building line. As I flip over to, I'm on page 11 of your packet there, you can see our current ordinances do require a 10-foot side yard setback. The applicant is requesting a 5-foot, which is what the existing house on the property is. And there's also an aerial on page 8, just to kind of give you an overview of that block of the historic district. And the applicants are here. If you'd like to speak with them, if you have any further questions about it, I'd be glad to explain anything.
So based on the drawing of the home that's going to be built and to replace that, the current home that sits there, the 5-foot doesn't bother because the homes are far enough apart where nobody's going to notice. But the drawing of the new home going in, it looks where the garage and then will be right next to the home on what appears to be the
East side.
east
That's
east
right,
side.
on the east side.
Mhm.
Right, their garage, does, appear to be, 4 or 5 feet from the, and again, we're talking about the property to the east. Their existing garage, does look to be 4 or 5 feet away from the building line. There'd be a total of, 9.
I spoke to the lady who owns the house there, Elizabeth Dunaway, today. She said that her and her husband are dancing in the street, that they're tearing that house down, and she's seen all the plans, and she is ecstatic about them. So
Good
that's
enough.
the next door neighbor.
Good enough.
Yes. She told me that.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Need a motion?
make the motion, Casey?
I'll make a motion to approve the encroachment request as presented.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the variance hearing number 1. Item 2, this motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of approving variance hearing number 1. Item 2 on the agenda today, say yes.
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 Anyone opposed, say no. And the motion carries. Item 3, variance hearing number 2, consideration and possible action on a building line encroachment from Montgomery Summit Business Park Reserve B.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll defer to Mr. Corporal.
Mayor and Commission, this is in Summit Business Park. The root of the issue that was explained in a letter elsewhere to the project engineer, when they did the original survey for the development, the pins were set 6 inches off. During a post-construction survey, which is typical if you're getting a loan or financing on the project, the lender wants a post-construction survey. That the new surveyor realized that those pins were wrong after the slab was poured. And so what he's asking for is an encroachment of 6 inches into the northern 10-foot building line. That to the north, the property to the north is also owned by Summit Business Park and is zoned industrial. They're asking for an encroachment of 6 inches out of a 25-foot vegetative setback, leaving only 24.5 feet worth of vegetative setback to the property that is currently just wooded, but it is zoned R1 residential to the west. So the two options is they can request a variance or adjustment. You would either allow the encroachment or you don't allow the encroachment, and they've then got the option to either demolish the slab that encroaches or leave the encroachment as is, but then which also kind of gives them title issues going forward because they've got an encroachment that they can't show that they've got approval for. The engineer of the project is here. If you'd like to answer any questions, I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the encroachment request as presented.
There's a motion by Casey,
Second.
second by Cheryl. Motion is debatable, amendable, requires a majority vote. All in favor of approving item 3 as stated, say yes.
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 Anyone opposed, say no. And the motion carries 4-0. Item 4, consideration possible action on a request to demolish the existing structures at 704 Carolina Street in the Historic Preservation District.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Corporal.
Mayor and Council, this is back with your council hats on. So part of our historic preservation ordinance is the demolition of the house. As the former mayor pointed out, it does require an approval by city council. So the Planning and Zoning Commission looked at this in the context of, 1, the demolition of the house, 2, the proposed. They also looked at the exterior aesthetics or architectural design. They've asked the applicants to come back with a revised plan, but did recommend to council the approval of the demolition of the existing 1,200 square foot home. As I put in the memo, the house, according to MCAT, shows that it was built in 1900. There's not sure what the difference is between an effective year built, but it says effective year built was 1960. I don't know personally the history of the house, but again, the applicants are here if you'd like to talk to them about what their plans are, or if you have any other thoughts or questions on historical ordinance, I'll be glad to answer.
I've lived here since 75 and the house was there then, but I don't think it was built in 1900 by any stretch of the imagination. Maybe not 1960. Mr. Boxman, who was one of my kids' teachers, he lived there at the time.
Does the Historical Society offer any information about the house? Because apparently you have 2 different dates as to when it was possibly built?
Right. I have not asked the Historical Society on it. I did go back and look at aerials. I've got aerial access back to 1957. Can't see that the house is there, but that's as far back as there is to go. Certainly doesn't share any architectural similarity to any of the homes that would be from the around the turn of the century. So I don't have any of the provenance on it. I don't know if the owners know of any, recently new owners, but again, they, as they showed in the packet there, the house in its current condition is a lot of work to, it was many years worth of deferred maintenance and DIY projects that didn't really go as maybe the former owners thought they were going to go. So they are requesting to demolish it and build a new home.
Any other questions? Any motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the request to demolish the existing structure at 704 Caroline Street in the Historic Preservation District.
I second that.
Motion by Carol, second by Cheryl. This motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. All in favor of approving item 4 as stated, say yes.
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 Anyone opposed, say no. And the motion carries 4-0. Item 5, consideration possible action on the following. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Montgomery, Texas, amending the rates to be charged for solid waste collection service inside the City of Montgomery, Texas, providing for a penalty for failure to pay accounts, providing conditions upon which service will be resumed, repealing all conflicting ordinances, providing a savings clause, providing a Texas Open Meetings Act clause, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Brown.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight we're looking at waste management provided the former administrator a letter with a rate increase. With his departure, that never took effect. So I have gone through and looked. They have not yet introduced and started charging us those rates, but they will at some point. So therefore, being proactive, I wish to bring to you a rate change to match that, because they have reached out to me, Waste Management, and they will be initiating that rate increase once you have adopted the ordinance. Adding to that, we do have administrative costs. There's also the wear and tear on our streets. So we're proposing to add a 2.5% increase on top of what they charge us, which would then bring the fee to the customer. On a residential car would be $22.76. An additional car would be $8.82. And then for commercial, it would be a $28.29, an additional car again, $8.82. That breakdown in your packet is shown on page 29.
How long have we used Waste Management?
2019 was one contract I found. I don't know, I'd have to refer to Dave, but it might have been 2016, 17.
2015 or 16.
Have we been presented by any other waste management companies?
We have not, and I was going to discuss that with our city administrator. I don't know when the last time we went out for an RFQ for this type of service.
How long is the contract if we re-up with this?
I believe it could be renewed every year.
We renewed your contract last summer. So we have 2 years left, roughly, 2.5. And so what this is their annual, in the contract, they, based on fuel surcharge and CPI, they can adjust their rates. It's a rate adjustment, not necessarily a renewal of the contract.
So
Didn't
now-
you-
oh,
Didn't you already check, and I preliminarily went through these numbers, I don't remember verbally or otherwise, and maybe it was Dave. These are not outside of what other cities,
Right, we did a comparison with some local cities, and some cities have actually put in a 5 to 8% increase. So we're.
I think it was Conroe.
Right.
Yeah.
Waste management have done it with, against the annual adjustments against the consumer price index, what they're going to charge us. So we'd like to pass on a 2.5% increase to cover our costs.
So tell me the exact amount I'm going to pay for garbage now.
Okay, ma'am, yes, you will have a residential cart. If you have one cart, it's going to be $22.76. If you have the additional cart, you're going to be paying $8.82.
And that additional card, is that the recycle?
Is that the reception?
No.
If you order the second cart, there is a recycling charge there.
It's interesting that they did not increase their lost or stolen replacement costs. That's directly billed to the customer at a charge of $8.73.
Any other questions?
So in the ordinance, where it says the residential fee is $22.21,
Correct. That is the fee that they are charging us. So the ordinance that the mayor has actually has the fee that
Okay.
includes the 2.5%.
22.76.
Correct.
And so we've always had that lost or stolen replacement?
Correct. And that's, they don't charge us, they charge the customer directly.
Okay. And this would go into effect?
Upon you approving this, I would then have to send a copy of the ordinance to the provider, Waste Management, and they would then affect their billing.
Since we're gonna initiate this, does that do anything to the current contract that we have with Western Waste?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
Oh, does it have any, by changing the figures, does that have any consequences to our current contract with them?
No, it's their revision of costs, we're just adding on top of that.
And so when is their contract, when is it?
2 more years.
We have 2 more
A
years.
little over 2 years.
They just put out an annual adjustment each year.
So what if they did turn around and did this again next year?
I hope they wouldn't, because they've caught up with the consumer price index, but that's actually in their contract that they do have the right to adjust their fees.
And that's typical of most of these providers, but they'll have a CPI adjustment that they can exercise each year to account for inflation.
Good. Everybody good? All right, entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we accept the increases laid out in Schedule A from Waste Management and the proposed 2.5% charge to customers for administrative costs.
A second.
Motion by Pat, second by Casey. This motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. All in favor of approving the ordinance as stated by Ms. Pat Easley, item 5 on the agenda? All in favor say yes.
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 Anyone opposed, say no. And item 5 passes as stated. Item 6, consideration possible action regarding the solicitation of mowing contracts.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll refer to our Public Works Director, Mr. Montgomery.
Good evening. Pretty cut and dry across the board. It's been 3 years. March will be 3 years since we last went out for RFP. That's when our contract ends with the current contractor, so we just need your approval to start the RFP process and get some new bids. We have dates set for, we're gonna get it posted tomorrow and then accept bids until the 25th, open them then, and then we anticipate we're gonna bring it back to y'all in February for award contract.
Where do you put the bids out?
Say, I'm sorry.
Where are you soliciting the bids from?
We will post it on the website, we'll also do a legal notice in the paper.
It's good to see the details of what this all entails. It's the first time I've seen that much detail and what it means to get out and mow all of this. And the lift stations as well.
Do you have the answer any questions?
So there's really nothing adjusted from what we've been doing.
Well, the only changes were we added the 213 Prairie
Right.
property, which they're mowing now, they're just mowing it on an
Right.
as-current basis. And then the 777 Klepper property, mowing that, and then changing it from, on the grounds maintenance items, going from a maximum of 18 times a year to a maximum of 20, because they need the ability to mow it 2 more times. They always fight it in March and then late fall on needing another round of mowing. So it doesn't automatically mean that they're going to mow it 20 times, it just gives them the ability to mow it 20 times. So current contractor has been excellent, we've had 0 issues out of him. He will not mow it if it doesn't need it. He will not spray the weed control of the lift stations if it don't need it.
That's the one few areas I've not had any complaints on. So,
Same here.
everybody ready for a motion? Okay.
Make a motion to authorize the solicitation of mowing services contracts by advertising 2 separate requests for proposals, the 2023 grounds maintenance RFP and the 2023 right-of-way mowing and lift station weed control RFP.
Motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Casey, second by Carol. The motion is available, amendable, requires majority vote. All in favor of approving item 6 as stated, say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, say no. And item 6 carries.
Thank y'all.
Okay. Item number 7, consideration and approval of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Montgomery, Texas, providing for the holding of a general election to be held on May 6, 2023, for the purpose of electing 3 City Council members, places 1, 3, and 5, and providing details relating to the holding of such election.
Thank you, Mayor. These next 3 items deal with the elections. I will be deferring to our City Secretary, Ms. Rock.
Okay, Mayor and Council, as you know, May 6th this year, we will be holding a general election for 3 City Council places. Position place 1, place 3, and place 5. One of the legal requirements that we have to comply with is that we call an election. So this ordinance is just that. We are calling the election. In your packet, I want you to look at page 45, which is page 3 of the ordinance. The first paragraph, the dates said 2022. The mayor has the correct ordinance in his packet for adoption. This May the 1st, 2023, May 2nd, 2023. So they have been corrected.
Just kind of off of what we experienced this past election, lots of questions, about, and then another one just a few minutes ago. We defer to the county on our city elections for probably many reasons, one of which is we don't have the staff, we don't have the resources. Maybe it reduces conflicts here and there. But there were a lot of people who were confused about where to go. I was, all the way up to it. Could some of that confusion been because of the tremendous school bond traffic? I see Lake Creek is here, the annex, going back to city council, it seems that we have more sites. Is that because of, you think, because of population, or?
It's actually from, for the most part, talking to the elections administrator, it's from having schools, having so many elections, you know, the bond issues. But they are actually trying to get more sites, so
Okay.
they're not utilizing like our city hall all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, we've offered it up obviously for general election day, but for early voting, they're trying to push them off to other sites. And they're trying to provide accessibility for a wider range. We have the same issue actually in Fort Wayne County elections. People get very confused. So my intention is to actually have something posted on our website that's very specific to Montgomery so they know where they have to go.
You know, it's just strange because our city limits goes spitting distance towards Lake Creek.
Right.
Why would I go to Lake Creek, for that matter? Maybe Dobbin, I guess, if you're on the west side, but why would you do that when you have Lone Star? It's just curious. It doesn't really affect us, right? It's just that there's more spaces that people could go.
I mean, the next two agenda items actually address
Some of that.
contracting with the county, but for this purpose, this actual ordinance, you're right, the backup documentation shows you all of the polling locations, and it can cause a lot of confusion.
Yeah. Okay.
But the locations are set by the county.
Right.
They are,
We don't have
they're out of
it.
our control. We just need to know what to tell them. Yeah. Okay. Entertain a motion.
Make a motion to adopt the ordinance calling the May 6, 2023 city general election.
Motion by Casey. Do I have a second?
Second.
That was Cheryl. This motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. All in favor of approving item 7 as stated, say yes.
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 Anyone opposed, say no. And item 7 is approved. Item 8, consideration of possible action regarding adoption of the election services agreement by and between the city of Montgomery and Montgomery County elections for the May 6, 2023 election.
Okay. As I said, this is this actual election services agreement is where the city enters into a contract to have Montgomery County Elections Administrator provide the services for our general election.
And that price at the top, the 16,000, is that an estimate?
That's the budget that we have for the next.
Okay.
The next agenda item is the resolution where we do the joint election agreement. That one actually is the one that addresses
price.
the cost.
Okay.
This one is for them to provide our services, provide us the equipment.
Okay, any other questions? If not, entertain a motion to approve.
I move that we adopt the election services agreement with Montgomery County elections.
Motion by Pat, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Cheryl. Motion's debatable, amendable, and requires majority vote. All in favor of approving item 8 as stated by Ms. Pat Easley, say yes.
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 Anyone opposed, say no. Item 8 carries. Item 9, consideration and possible action regarding adoption of the joint election agreement by and between the city of Montgomery and Montgomery County elections for the purpose of sharing jointly conducted elections to be held May 6th, 2023.
Okay, this item is the joint election services agreement. That's every entity that's holding a general election, whether that's the school, the MUDs, whomever they might be. They will be all submitting and having the Montgomery County conduct the elections. This joint election agreement allows for sharing, a cost sharing agreement. So if we end up with a no contest election, we do not pay anything. If we do end up having a general election, the cost is shared out between all of us. Now, we can't tell what that would be until obviously we've closed on candidate applications. Last year, we have a budget this year of $16,000. Last year, the original, or last go around. The original invoice came in for $14,500. When they actually had finalized everything, it turned out actually a lot less. It was $12,000.
Any questions? If not, entertain a motion.
A motion to adopt the election services agreement with Montgomery County.
Motion by Casey. Do I have a
I
second?
second.
Second by Pat. Motion's debatable, amendable, requires majority vote.
Actually, isn't this one
This
the
one
joint
doesn't?
election agreement?
Yes, the joint
Isn't that what I
election
said?
services agreement.
Oh,
I think he said the election services.
yeah, you're right.
Oh, I thought this.
Joint
No,
election
yeah, it's the
services.
election,
Oh.
the joint election.
I don't know what I want to do.
Yep.
All right, so the motion should say adoption of the election services agreement with Montgomery County.
That's the first one. This one is the joint election services agreement.
This is number 9.
Okay, so our page is wrong.
And the pages are
6 and
backwards
7.
is what it
Yeah.
is.
What page is that?
Mhm.
Eight says joint.
Yep,
Which does?
yep.
Well, where did you get the one
Number
that
9
says
is the
joint?
joint election services.
It's titled joint,
It's titled
but it
joint.
doesn't say joint.
But it doesn't say joint, so that's where.
That's what,
Under the recommendation.
Read the teleprompter, man. I
there
just
you
read
go.
the teleprompter.
Under the recommendation, yeah.
It's a teleprompter thing. All right, so Casey, you want to restate?
Yes, make a motion to adopt the joint election services agreement with Montgomery County.
Okay, the motion has been restated. Pat, you will second that. You okay with that?
I
All right. All right, so with the restatement there, all in favor of approving item 9 as Casey restated, say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, say no. And motion 9 carries as restated by Casey. All right, item 10, consideration possible action on the following resolution. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Montgomery, Texas, authorizing the signers for all City of Montgomery banking accounts with First National Bank and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a matter of procedure and financial controls, adding me as a signer for actions from the city council, checks, stuff like that.
Okay. Okay, so there's nothing really in the discussion down there that matters, either title changes or not even,
Just adding me.
just adding the name is all we're doing. So, recommendation. So we need a motion as stated in that recommendation.
Make a motion to adopt the resolution with the addition of the newly appointed city administrator.
Motion by Casey, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Carol. Motion's debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. All in favor of approving item 10 as stated, say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, say no. And item 10 carries. Item number 11, consideration possible action to approve a text pool resolution amending authorized representatives.
Thank you, Mayor. Similar to item 10, this is to add me to the text pool list of authorized representatives.
Okay?
I move that we adopt the resolution as printed, as presented.
Motion is by Pat. Need a second?
Second.
Second by Cheryl. Motion's debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. All in favor of approving item 11 to adopt the resolution as presented, say yes.
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 Anyone opposed, say no. And item 11 is approved. Executive session, we don't have one. Do I still need to read that? Nope, don't think so. All right. Council inquiry.
Last meeting we heard from the engineers about bids out for McAllen. Is that correct? Have we heard anything back?
Was it for the sewer rehab
Yes.
projects? Those are in contracts, so bids were received, it was awarded at the last meeting. Construction contracts have been executed, and we're going through construction bills.
Cool. Okay.
Anyone have anything else? All right, I'd like to invite everyone to come to Lone Star Community Center this Monday for MLK celebration. I'll be saying a few words there, as few as possible, but anyway, and city staff, that includes anyone representing the city, I'll be happy to recognize you at that event. And I believe it goes 11 a.m. to 1. And if department chairs will, just be prepared if you have, just stand up and kind of be recognized. So if you can make that on Monday, Lone Star Community Center, that would be great, 11 to 1. I was at last year's and it's an incredible thing. Well done, good stuff. All right, continue to pray for Brother TJ, and hopefully he'll know some things he hopes this week, but he needs a lot of prayer, no doubt, and his family as well. All right, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make the motion we adjourn.
Now, motion time. Second.
Second.
All right, all in favor of adjournment,
Pat?
say yes.
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 And it is 6:40, and we are adjourned.
TJ said he does that. He said.
Three different.